You are listening to the BlahCade podcast. I am your host, Chris Freebus. Joining me, as always, halfway across the world, Jared Morgan.
Hello there. It's a bit later today. I see a distinct lack of light beaming into your room there.
Well, it's still daylight outside, but my house has a distinct lack of light in it. We don't have a whole lot of, I don't know if it's, but we never have extremely well lit rooms.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, if the rooms are on the wrong side of the house, you don't get any light, and it just sort of like gets rather dark.
Well, and I mean, usually there's plenty of light streaming inside the house, but once you get into the evening, it turns out you need a lot of lights in order to light up a room. And we just never bothered to purchase a lot of lights. You know, we're happy with lights in our working environment, and then I have a big old TV to light up the living room, so what do I care?
Well, that's true. Yeah, quite true. Oh, gee, what happened since last week? Hey, you know what I did do, which is kind of fun. I actually I went down. You know how I was talking last week about missing out on Star Wars, playing at Netherworld. Well, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go. I just really felt like playing some pinball, and so I thought, you know what, on Monday at lunchtime, I'm just going to go down to Netherworld and drop a few dollar coins in and have a bit of a play. And so I go, cool. Got an Uber down the road and got there, and place was shut. And I went, what's going on here? So anyhow, I sort of just went, I was going to send Netherworld a message on Facebook Messenger to see what was going on. And then I saw the truck roll up with a whole lot of Daytonas rolling out the back of it. And I was going, what's going on here? So anyhow, a couple of the operators I know were rolling in these Daytona twins. And Jimmy Nails, the guy I was talking about there last time, who was the tournament director, the owner or co-owner, he was there. I said, did I get my days wrong? Are you always closed on Mondays? He goes, yeah, today we are because we've got a set up for the Netherworld Speedway event that we've got coming up. So they basically got two Daytona twins, and they've linked them together. And today they're running a Daytona tournament there all day today.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool. Like, they've done these like custom little pins for them as well, with like this big monster in like a Daytona stock car, with all like tentacles coming out. It looks so good. And anyhow, I thought, well, geez, that's no good. And he goes, oh, look, do you just want to, like, the bar's not open and the restaurant's not open, but do you want to just come in and play some pinball? I said, oh, yeah, that'd be good if you don't mind. So I went, okay, sure. I snuck in and started dropping some dollars into the machines, and sort of just had the place myself, really.
Nice.
It was really nice. It was nice of him to let me in and actually just let me play, because, you know, I'm there all the time for the tournament, and he knows me, I guess. So I was lucky there. Yeah. But it's very interesting playing in a place like that without any music going and without any sort of, you know, general trade happening.
Yeah.
And it was really, really good. They had a fun house there, and this thing was very nice. It was all LED'd, and they had it cranked up.
Oh, so it was nice.
So nicely. It was pumping out the sound. It was great. And it was brutal. It took me a good 4 or 5 coin drops to get the feel of it.
Yeah.
And once I got into it, though, it was really good. I found that the way you lock the balls on this one, I think that was missing something up there, perhaps like a piece of rubber or something like that, because if you shoot the balls up there and they just pop straight out, they don't actually get held in there. Oh. So you had to fluke a really soft shot up there that just dribbled the ball in. And then once I got that ball in and it was in the trap, I was then able to like slam other balls up against it, and they would stay in there. I was able to get multi-ball. So once I got multi-ball rolling, that was fine. I did terribly in it because it's
hard to do multi-ball in Funhouse. Yes,
it actually is hard to do multi-ball in Funhouse. I was having all sorts of trouble with the timing on the cellar and the trapdoor and all that, trying to get the million shots and stuff. But I did get a few million shots. I think I got a score of up to about 5 million on it. which on a real one is pretty good, I think.
No, I mean the replay on a real one is usually what, 7 million, I think,
oh,
and that was always tough to get. Because I think it was 7 million, and like Whirlwind, I think was 3 million, and that was tough to get.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean,
you've really got to know what you're doing on those games to actually get the score up high enough for that.
And Funhouse in particular is a table that if you can master that half flip, so that you can hold, cradle a ball, and still flip the upper flipper. If you can do that, you can run the table much, much easier. But it's so difficult to do. I mean, it's
difficult to do.
Your brain just tells you mash all the way in, mash all the way in. But like you said, that multi-ball otherwise is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it is big time. So that was really fun to play. I enjoyed the hell out of that. I didn't actually get the chance to play Funhouse when it was new. So I think that was probably my first real good go at a Funhouse in real life. So yeah, it was great to actually get on that, and it was a beautiful specimen, very, very well kept. Nice. All the plastics were nice and white and nice and clear and very good, very good. And what else did they have? They had a taxi, but it didn't want to take my coins. There was a problem with the coin validator on it, so I just moved. I didn't want to bother the guys as I was setting up, so I just basically went, okay, what games are working well, look okay, that's fine, and I just got on them. Some of them I think still had a little bit of dirt left on them from the Pinball Masters, so I left those ones alone. I think Mondays might be closed, so they can actually go around, do maintenance on them, and clean them. So I moved on to Creature from the Black Lagoon, which is my nemesis at Netherworld. It's just it's so uncomfortable for me to play. I really just can't get in the groove of it. And I put maybe $2 or $3 into that, and it was just frustrating me, so I just walked away. I went, no, this is just terrible. I just am not cut out to play this game. I'm just cutting my losses, and I will just assume that it's going to be bad.
It's really
can't wait for it to be cycled out. Put it that way.
Even in TPA, I'm really good at Creature in Pinball Arcade. Although I don't know, I haven't actually played it since all the retuning, or played it a lot, so I don't know how much differently that affects it. But I was really, really good at it, but I never enjoyed it. And it was one of those that I played purely because I could post a gargantuan score. And kind of zone out while playing it, but it wasn't a table that I particularly was like, yeah, Creature. And so whenever I play it in real life, I think all the things that I don't care for become hugely magnified, because it is not an easy table to play in real life. And so it's like there went the one factor that I was enjoying, and in comes all the other factors that just kind of bug me.
I think that's the same for me too. Like in essence, there's nothing wrong with it.
No,
but for some reason, I just can't get in the swing of it, and it frustrates me because they always pick it at the tournament, and I always hate it. So I went I just cut my losses, and I went, no, I'm going around to the front room. In the front room, they've got Addams Family. They've also got Transporter. They've got Ghostbusters and Twilight Zone in the front room. Plus, I think they might still have Trident there as well, which is an old Stern. And so I thought, you know what? I always have a bad time on Ghostbusters. I'm going to use this time just to chill out when no one else is around and just get my head around this game. And it was nice and loud as well. I was actually able to hear the soundtrack on it for the first time probably ever. And I've got to say the soundtrack is actually really good on it, but you never get to hear it because Stern don't have headphone ports, do they?
Yeah,
so
no.
That is really frustrating. So yeah, definitely would be nice if we could actually get headphone ports that were a standard feature on Sterns. But anyhow, going back to the game, the first game I played was actually pretty good. I managed to, the first one was about 100,000, not 100,000, 100 million. And I sort of got a bit of an idea more about how to get, like the multi-ball lit and the importance of that captive ball with all the stage balls in it. That's quite important on the Pro. So I sort of had a bit of a fiddle around with that, managed to get a replay, so I thought I'll start up another one and see how I go. This one, yeah, it really clicked for me. I had a really good game. I got containment multi-ball. I had a really good run with the ghosts, got a fair few jackpots, and managed to get 256 million on it, which is pretty good. And the good thing is that it was also a special limited edition pinball machine. So because I got 257, I qualified for a Slimer pin.
Nice.
So I'm going to have to collect that at another time because I didn't want to interrupt them because the bar was closed. Yeah. So I'll pick that up probably this week sometime, which is really cool. And then I had a go of Adam's Family, and yeah, I think it suffered a fair bit from Brisbane Pinball Masters. There was a whole lot of general illumination out on it, and it just felt sloppy. So I think probably some work needs to happen on that one, but I'm sure that's probably on the cards for it. It probably needs to be taken off and given a good service, because I noticed that the thing flip, that flipper bat is all smashed up underneath, so there's very little actual plastic bat holding it. It's just basically rubber. So they might need to replace that mini flipper, I think. So that was my adventure on Monday.
I'm curious. I mean, out of the tables that you mentioned and everything, it kind of brought to my attention, of all those, I love playing Adam's Family.
Yeah, go.
And
sorry, what? Say again. Sorry. My son, I interrupted asking if the toilets were clean. So yes, they are. So
yes, I did the bathrooms after you go and clean them, son.
Yeah, that's right. They will be when you get to work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Adam's Family, I always have a good time on, even when I have a bad game. And it's a table that you can have an absolutely terrible game one game, and the next game you get multi-ball like almost instantaneously and have a fantastic game.
Yep, true.
And I've always said it's just an incredibly likable table in general. The call outs, the table flow, the look of it. I mean, everything about it just is imminently playable. That being said, then, a lot of people love Taxi, and I don't get the love for it. I don't know. It just doesn't grab me at all.
It's a horrible game to play in real life. Like, you have to. It feels like you are absolutely battling with every inch of your life to get even a score over 1 million at least on the table. It's at Netherworld, and it's a well-maintained table in good condition, and it is just a struggle, and it's just unrewarding. It feels.
Well, I also don't really enjoy the shot selection. I mean, apart from the ability to, alternate ramps, left, right, there's not much else on the table that I really enjoy shooting for. I don't care to shoot the drop targets. I don't enjoy shooting all the way up, to the top of the table to collect. I don't know who is that, Santa up there or something. I can't remember. I don't like the ball locks. With shooting those, there's just, I don't know. It's to me, it's a very awkward layout, and I get no satisfaction from it. But then I talk to other people, and it's their favorite table. I mean, they absolutely love that thing. And there's guys that I know that own it, and they're like, "Oh, I would never get rid of Taxi." I'm just like, okay, I'm not a convert.
Like, I've seen guys. The fact, the one guy I saw playing actually owns it, and has leased it to Netherworld. But he, of course, being the owner of it, and knows the intricacies of it, and he knows the point at which you just shoot off that flipper to get that pinbot lock. And he knows, all the things that you need to do to actually do well in that game. And that's the thing. Like, you would almost need, before the tournament even started for me, I would need at least 20 games on that to get my eye in, so that I can go, right, now I'm actually able to go and have a convincing game on it. Like, it's just one of those things that it's like, I've got to have time on it.
And and this extends to Pinball Arcade's version too. I don't have the love for it. It's one of those tables that I just don't ever select to play.
I think, in comparison to the one, at least the specimen I've got access to at the moment, it's just so woefully easy in Pinball Arcade. It is just so unrealistic in its difficulty. Like, every time you shoot that lock, it should actually feel like it's at risk.
Yeah.
The ball's at risk because it's a really on the tip of the flipper shot. And like it gets everybody when they're in there. Like I see people playing it there. A lot of them are flat out getting 700,000 or 800,000 on it at the one at Netherworld. And they're just going, I just don't know what to do on this table to get scores. Like, it's just everything is not working.
Yeah.
It's just like that's another one that I'd be very happy to see go and go back into the man's collection again. Because it's just it infuriates me. That and Creature of the Black Lagoon can go die in a fire. So yeah,
it's interesting. Also, me being a Lawler fan, I don't really care for Twilight Zone.
Oh really? You don't really dig it?
Again, even in person playing it, I don't get excited when I see it. When I walk into a room and I see the row of pins. There's certain pins that, like, if I see Medieval Madness, I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta go play that. There's no way I'm not playing that.
Yeah.
But when I see Twilight Zone, I just kind of go, nah, I'll play it maybe. It just doesn't grab me, and I don't know if it's the theme necessarily, or if there's just too much stuff, and that's kind of weird, but I don't know. I can't put my finger on it of why that one doesn't really grab my attention. And yet, like I said last week, I played Dialed In. That has a ton of crazy features on it also. I mean, probably has more stuff than Twilight Zone does, but it grabbed me immediately. So
yeah, I tend to, well, certainly at the moment, like when they get rid of those Daytona cabinets, they'll actually get the pinball machines back on the floor again, because it's taking up a whole row of where pinball machines would go at the moment, which is pain in the ass.
Well, like, if you need a place to store them, my house.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll just ship them overseas to you.
No, I meant your house, because it's by you.
Yeah, that's right. I'm much closer. Much closer. We'll be happy to help. So, yeah, once they get the pinball machines back in, I'm thinking they should probably get some Wizard of Oz back in, which means that I will probably be down there a lot, playing that with headphones. Yeah, for sure. But at the moment, it is Daytona City, and that's great because four-player Daytona is something you don't really see that often these days.
Yeah.
And if you've got a big group of mates who love to play a bit of Daytona, it's fun. Although, you know that Daytona USA has been released again. They've actually got the new version of Daytona in the arcades now.
Okay.
It's basically got the 3 original tracks plus a couple of extra ones in there with the same physics engine. But to date, I've not seen them on any arcades here. Although granted, I probably don't go into the big commercial arcades anymore because all they are is skill testers and video games.
Yeah.
I don't care for that. Yeah, I don't think there's been as huge a take up for it as it was in the 90s, mainly because the arcade scene is in decline. So getting a big 8-player row of these, I remember, these used to be 8 deluxe 50-inch cabinets lined up in arcades. It took off pretty much one whole wall. And they put them there because they were a license to print money. Like, it was.
Well, you think about it, back then, playing a linked game was the only way you could do it. Most people weren't having.
Yeah.
Internet was not fast by any stretch of the imagination. We're talking 26K modem was like woohoo, and if you could have a LAN party, but the graphics weren't amazing, and getting that many people together with your computers was a task in and of itself. So yeah, you go to an arcade, and there's these racers that you totally enjoy playing, and you get 8 buddies or 7 other buddies, and yeah, really, really good time. Shoot, I used to have fun just doing the two cabinet playing with my friend. and doing various kinds of race games, and that was a lot of fun. And it is, when you think about it, just a completely novel experience back then. Now it's so ubiquitous that any game that you get on console is going to be linked to other players. That's just a given. But it was by far not online back then. Yeah.
Online or like collaborative play is now a standard, not an exception. So
yeah,
and I'm sure that the cost of one of these setups, because I think the way they do them now is they have like every twin has like a screen above it that shows you what's going on and shows the leader and all that sort of thing. So there'd be a lot of money that you'd have to invest as an arcade owner into like a twin now.
Yeah, because they're trying to make it a spectator sport.
And in an arcade, absolutely. I mean, that's what you want. You want people to walk in the door and all they see is this thing. But, I think in a lot of other locations, the floor space required for that type of setup it's pretty limiting. So, a lot of the BlahCades that are opening up now, like they don't actually have a huge amount of room for pieces like that. So, and the footprint of one of those things is big. Like a pinball machine is big enough. But one of these things is, it's like 2 or 3 machines or 2 or 3 games in size.
Exactly, and right off the bat, that means the exchange is, hey, I could have 3 or 4 alternative machines going that people are going to play, or I can have this one game, with these cabinets.
And put all my eggs in one basket. Exactly. And basically put all my eggs in one basket, rather than having, I might have 3 opportunities to earn a coin drop here.
Yeah.
But in this way, I only have 1. So it's a tough sell for Sega. I really do I would love to play it. I would love to get into an arcade that has one and drop a couple of bucks in, although it probably would be something like $4 a play down here for them to actually make their money back. Which I think is actually what the going price was back in 1990, or in the 1990s, like for the deluxe ones. I'm pretty sure it was like $4 a play here in Australia.
I think it was probably about a $2 coin drop.
$2 game.
I reckon. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was expensive because they were big pieces of equipment. So yeah,
I mean, I don't remember, because I'm trying to think when it was just basic arcades. I think the most expensive games were $1, but that was when most of your pinball machines were 25 cents, and some of your new ones were 50 cents, and that was like ooh. But then you'd step over to these things like, oh man, $1. Dang, I could
killing me.
That's 4 games on Mortal Kombat. That was the kind of thinking that you had to go through. But when it went into, we have a place called Dave & Buster's. It's kind of a chain of. Do you have Dave & Buster's there, or are you familiar with it?
I know what Dave & Buster's is. It's like a fast food chain, right?
No, it's not fast food. It's a restaurant. Their big claim to fame was that after 8 p.m. or whatever, it was adults only. And, bar was open, and there was good, quality restaurant. I shouldn't say good food, but it was, full on quality. You could get a steak kind of, restaurant or whatever. And then you could play pool, you could play video games, you could do, any number of these things. But that was the whole idea was, hey, let's get rid of the kids, come and play with, your fellow adults. But that's when the price is, jacked up on these things. And if you go into a Dave & Buster's now they have like, hey, let's play Connect 4 on a 100-foot, not 100-foot, a 10 by 10-foot screen. It's these gargantuan arcade things, and they're basically, it's almost like being on a set of a game show. I mean, that's kind of the vibe that you get now. And if you think about the game show The Price is Right, again, I don't know if you're familiar with it there, but everybody here in America is more than familiar. It's that size of games. It's giant wheels and giant everything, and it's more about the crowd.
Big scale things.
Yeah, and it's more about drawing a crowd over to watch than it is about your enjoyment playing, truth be told.
It is. It's a spectator sport, for sure.
And they were the first place that I remember going to that did the credit card. You went, you loaded up a card, and then you inserted the card. And the thing was that the prices were all funky. It would be like, $1.57. No, but they wouldn't use prices. That was where it was killer. It would be spend $20 or spend $10. Well, your card now has 20 credits on it, and then games would be 1.5 credits. I mean, it basically made it so that it made it really difficult for you to do the math in your head of how much you were actually spending, which is genius because they don't want you to know how much you're spending.
Yeah, like everything is 1.25 or like 1.75 credits. That's dirty.
Inevitably,
that's really dirty.
Inevitably, you'd wind up with not enough credits on your card to play anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what is your alternative? Well, I got to go load more up on the card.
Yep. Odd pricing makes you recharge.
It's a very Las Vegas casino way of getting you to lose your money without realizing you're losing your money.
For sure. Yeah. So I guess that was me last week. It was fun. I think I will definitely go this week. Hopefully they will have cleared out. I won't go Monday, but otherwise I might be helping him unload a whole lot of Daytonas in my lunch break.
Yeah.
Maybe Friday next week.
I was working. And I don't know if this. Tell me if this just shocks you or whatever. But I happen to have my stub statement here in front of me, and not this last week because I don't remember how many hours I worked, but the previous week, 64 hours for the week.
That's pretty long.
Yeah,
that's 24 hours more than I would normally work in a working week.
And we were having this discussion.
You would have been back.
Yeah, we were having this discussion in the van ride on Friday coming home at 2 a.m, where everybody would just kind of went, could you imagine working in a real job? I mean, like not a real job, in a regular job. And everyone's like, oh my God, a cubicle job, kill me. And we all have the same sentiment where I cannot, for the life of me, imagine going to the same place every day at the same time and sitting in the same spot, looking at the same little walls and same screen. And I don't know. I don't know how people do it. I honestly don't.
Well, you're sort of one of those things that, like, as one of those people who do exactly that, I could say that you're not always looking at the screen. Well, it depends on what sort of job you're doing. If you're a developer, you probably are.
Yeah.
But because I'm a product manager, like I'm walking around and I'm talking to people, and I'm having conversations, and I'm doing a lot of sort of like, what would you call it, meta work. That's not like sitting in front pumping things into a computer. It's more like not really networking, but kind of is. It's building relationships and stuff like that. So it's different. It's still inside a building, but I guess it's not so much in front of a screen.
Well, what's funny is that there's been various times when we've gone on locations and shot at cubicle farms, essentially, and inevitably, because you're standing around during the take and you're starting to look, and you start looking at people's cubicles and the little world that they've created for themselves, and just it is fascinating because you can almost immediately tell who this person is. If you stare at it long enough, just the little knickknacks and the little pictures that they have, and how they post their notes. Because then you look, you go one cubicle over, and it's completely different. How that person. But then you also notice the similarities where everybody has the same desk, and the trash can is in the exact same spot, and the file cabinet is in the exact same spot, and it's really just kind of like wow. And
it's funny. You see some cubes that are very bland and very minimalist. And then you see some that are like full of vinyl figurines and full of all sorts of random stuff, and like posters of things and anime posters up on the things. And, it's very bright. Some cubes are really bright, and some cubes are just really, very, I guess, matter of fact.
Yes.
And they're there. It's business time. They're there to do the business. So,
well, and what is, it's interesting too, because so last season I was on a show that we only went on location 3 times total. Everything else was on the same stage, or we had 2 stages, but always on the stages. we practically were going in always at the same time every day. So it was almost giving me a taste of what that was like to always go at the same time, always go to the same location, same commute. But then once you step foot on the stage, well, it's always shifting, where we're filming, what we're filming, where your carts go, everything is constantly in flux that way. But where we do have our, every department has their carts that, stuff is loaded up onto. And there is personality to that kind of thing because people put bumper stickers on their carts.
Oh, okay.
And so there becomes that kind of personality. And then there is what I do, which is I wear these T-shirts that always have, I'm that guy. And so the show that I'm on right now, it's started getting where people are seeking me out to go, oh, what shirt are you wearing today? Because they want to see what it is. And so I guess it's interesting that you do want to display your personality to people in some way, shape, or form. But
I'll almost always it's tough if you're used to the outdoor, doing what you do, and the constant variety of stuff, then it would be hard to actually switch to cube life. But it's a little bit like that for me too. I'm known as the pinball guy at work,
right?
Because actually no, I'm actually more notorious for my coffee skills. Actually, at work, I've actually the go-to guy that people come to if they're having trouble with the machine and don't know how to use it. They'll come to me and I'll show them how to make a proper espresso with it. And so much so that we've had so many new people start over the last month or so that I've actually made up a little instructional poster, but using memes. So I've actually done like a meme poster about, for example, one of the things I said is that is your stretch milk looking more like is your stretch milk screaming when you froth it? If you in a cafe and you hear that noise and they're actually steaming milk, it's bad. If you ever hear that, go to another cafe. So if you hear that, it's like, let a bit of air in, mate, is what I said underneath it. And then I had another frame saying, why is my coffee coming out like a waterfall? You haven't packed it tight enough, mate. Put a bit more coffee in, and stuff like that. And then the last frame of the poster is, so how do I use this thing? And below that is like, see Jared Morgan. See Jared Morgan. And I'll sort you out.
Oh man.
And I try and pick people up. When I hear them doing crimes against caffeine, and the kids just say, hey, you know what? There's a better way of doing that. Do it like this. And that's my way of getting in and showing them how to use it properly.
So I'll give you an example of the kinds of things that we did this week, or in terms of location work, because we were on location this entire last week. Let's see, we were at a school for an entire day, filming various high school type things. We were in and around a hotel and a bar, which is really difficult to work in because these places are still open. Well, like the bar we shut down, but the exterior was a giant courtyard, and you get information like, okay, but none of your equipment can be here. Okay, so where does my equipment get to go? We have these large carts. I mean, just our department alone has 6 different carts, and these are all probably 4 to 6 feet in length. And and so it becomes this, okay, where do we hide this stuff and still be able to access it to work? And then you do hotel work where the hotel is fully open, and it was, we were in downtown LA, and it was a nice hotel. And so you don't want to disrupt the guests because the hotel doesn't want that. And then they tell you, okay, you need to go up to the 26th floor, and you only can use this one elevator. And you've got every department trying to jam their carts into the elevators. And then you get up to that floor and, okay, we're shooting 360 degrees. Oh, great. So where do we hide all the stuff that we just brought? and then we go down, go down a couple of floors because we're shooting in an actual hotel room. And they give you, they rent out practically the entire floor. And so all the departments have their own room that they can, shove their carts in, and that way they're not disrupting the guests, in that fashion. But Now, every time you need a piece of equipment, you got to go out of the room that you're in, go into the room that all your stuff is in, bring it back into the other room. But nobody wants that because when they ask for something, they want it immediately. So you bring your own little pile into the room. But then every single time they change the camera angle, oh, your gear's in the shot. So now you got to move the gear.
Shot.
But you're also it's lights that are moving and flags that are moving and your camera equipment that's moving. So everybody's doing this little dance. And so that's where it's never the same thing twice on any given day ever. So it's weird.
True. Always shifting sand.
It's always shifting. It's a weird, and yet we find our groove, and that's the fascinating thing about I guess about any work environment. You know, everybody finds their groove and finds their downtime on it. Well, I haven't been able to find any downtime on this show, but
except the evenings when you go and play pinball.
Oh yeah, that's happening. Sure. My evenings are literally drive home, go to sleep, wake up, go to work, drive home, go to sleep, go to
So on the weekends you get a chance to do anything.
In theory.
In theory, that's if they don't have you working on the weekends.
Fortunately, not working on the weekends this time around, but it's that's where I become envious of the cubicle life, actually, where people have a life.
Yeah,
you know, where you have an 8-hour day, we're going, oh, hey, we still got 6 more hours to go.
Yeah, I think that I'd much rather have a little bit more predictability in hours and variety in what I see. The thing is, though, that depending on the job you're in cube land, it can actually be different type of variability. So you might have, you might be doing, excuse me, you might be thinking about a new feature that you want to implement one day, and that involves research and a different thinking than what you would have to do if you were like helping a team deliver a product and actually help them be in the team and communicating with them and unblocking roadblocks for them and getting information they need and things you would do depending on what role you're taking on the day. And I think that is a little bit like, moving your camera equipment around and making sure that you've got to roll with the punches, because I think we do that a fair bit too. So I think it's just a different type of variety. That's all.
Different type of variety, although you get to do a lot more sitting.
No, I don't. I've got a standing desk. I stand all day.
Oh, wow.
I stand all day.
I don't think
except at lunch.
Except at lunch. Then it's time to sit. And there you go. Well, see, that's what suits you for pinball, because you're used to standing then.
That's right. Yeah, I don't go to enough pinball tournaments that actually require me standing for 8 hours a day, though. So I'm not using my skills gained at work. I'm not using my training that my hours I put in training.
We need to have a Le Mans of pinball, 24 hours of straight pinball.
Yeah. Well, no. I think they actually did that at Netherworld. They actually did that at Netherworld. They had like an 18-hour lock-in, and it was like a tournament. And if you managed to stay the course for the whole time and actually not like tap out, you got you went into running for a trophy, actually. It's pretty cool. Someone managed to do it.
I tell you, that first time I went to the Pinball Hall of Fame, I played pinball for 8 hours straight. And my forearms by the end of that 8 hours were just throbbing, and my trigger fingers, I couldn't flex the fingers in. They were just stuck. It's like I had to do whole hand slaps to get to push the button. Yeah.
Oh, that's brutal. Yeah. It's rough. Like if you're not used to doing it, or if you don't have a pinball machine at home. Yeah. Like if you go to one of these tournaments that runs for a long time, it does really get to you. It's like anything. Like you're still using muscles. You may not be running a marathon, but you're still using muscles all the time.
Yeah. I'm not going to go so far, folks, as to say pinball is athletic, because God knows it's not.
No, you're not going to lose a lot of weight with pinball, particularly if you do what I do and have beer and also have like bar snacks while I'm there.
Right.
In fact, I think it's probably a weight gain activity rather than a weight loss activity.
Exactly.
But it's fun, so that's okay.
Yep, it is fun. Well, hey, folks, we're going to call it short this week, because as you can tell, we didn't. There was nothing really to talk about in TPA, and I didn't play any pinball this week, and
no.
you know, Jared did. That's
Week,
what we talked about. So there you go. That's what happens some weeks. Some weeks we blather on and on and on about pinball, and other weeks we kill time and
you get a little bit.
You get a lot of filler and not much killer.
Yeah. Oh, there's a bit of that. You know, I class the Netherworld stuff as a bit of filler, like a bit of killer. So that was all good. Having, you know, my limited ability to get out and do location pinball, I think every time I go out somewhere, it's almost like an event for me. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
right. Let's
I think
wrap it up and do it.
Yeah, we shall wrap this up. Hey, folks, why don't you drop us a line at our email address, BlahCade@gmail.com. Tell us what you would like us to talk about, especially for days like this when we're kind of sorely lacking basic pinball talking, because we can BS with the best of them about a lot of this stuff. So let us know what you want us to harp about. We will do that. Visit our website, BlahCadePinball.com. Hey, Jared, I did it correctly that time.
You did.
And there you can find all of our past episodes, as well as links to websites that we mentioned. You can follow us on Twitter, highly recommended. @BlahCade is the show's Twitter account, or you can follow us individually. I am @ShutYourTraps. He is @Jared Morgs. With that, we shall bid you adieu, and we'll catch y'all next week. Bye-bye.
Yep. See you later.